What's good, Five Family? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to be talking about UFC 303. Just took place the other day. Per usual, I take like a day before I give my reaction to these cards. Sometimes it's just because, honestly, the card sucks. Like, 303 wasn't that good. It didn't even feel like something I needed to talk about much. Maybe one or two fights on there. But yeah, you know what? Let's just get right into the main event, which, of course, like I told you guys in my prediction, I stupidly last minute switched to Yuri. And I even said, like, honestly, pick against me if you're going to bet money, because I'm on such a losing streak with main events. I'm on a 4-fight losing streak now, I think, maybe 5. Just for these main events, though, that it's kind of like I'm chill sunning at this point. Alex Pereira, he comes out, they have a similar first round to what they had in their first fight. And also similarly, the stare down was like the best part of the whole card. That was such a hype moment once again. But yeah, no, they have a similar first round. It kind of seems like Yuri might have just taken the first round again on activity and, you know, trying to force the takedown. Yada, yada. Then neither of them landed too much. Yuri did a little bit better at defending the low kicks. And then at the very end of the first round, he gets clipped with the left hook, literally gets knocked out, but the time runs out. So, you know, as he falls back, he wakes up and he ends up getting that minute to go back. I literally knew from that moment, I told my friends, like, the second he comes out in the second round, it's about to be over, because he looked so badly knocked out. And yeah, lo and behold, he comes out. They kind of just stand in front of each other for like 10 seconds, and then Alex just whips a lead leg high kick, really fast, perfect form, lands perfectly on the temple of Yuri, knocks him down bad again. You could tell Alex just wanted the fight to be done. Like, I don't know what Herb Dean was looking for. I think he wanted to see murder. He definitely has a problem with Yuri for whatever reason, because even Alex stopped and was like, we're not going to stop this. Like, all right. And he was hitting him, and you could tell he was pulling his punches because Yuri was just knocked the fuck out. Like, a great win. Who beats this man at 205 besides Magomed potentially? I don't think anybody, unless John Jones wants to come back down. And that's actually the fight that everyone's talking about now, once again, because Alex wants to move up to heavyweight. Dana White, for whatever reason, is doing his thing where he, you know, sucks off John Jones and acts like nobody should go up to challenge John Jones except for Stipe. And John Jones comes out and he says, I'll fight Alex, but Alex has to take on Tom. So John's trying to, like, deflect who everybody wants him to fight right now to be the true heavyweight champion that he claims he is. And John's like, nah, let me just throw my real matchup off to Alex. If Alex can get past him, then I'll take on Alex. So dumb, especially because John said in the same tweet that he'll just choke Alex out like he did Cyril Gane. If you're that confident, then just take the fight, steal all of his hype. Like, nobody would care if John Jones came in, if he really came in and beat Alex Pereira. Nobody would give a fuck if he rode off into the sunset. Nobody would care what he did after that point, because already what more is there for this guy to prove? I'm on John's side with that. But, like, especially if he beats Alex, who's, like, the face of the UFC right now, I think that's the fight to make. I'll be making a video about it later this week, just strictly talking about that matchup, because it's a solid matchup, and it's probably the best fight that the UFC could make right now. Overall, cool main event. Yuri Procházka, he needs to fight Jamal Hill now, let's be real, if he is going to fight again. And it broke my heart seeing him take that loss the way he did. He's just spiritually and physically above us mortals, I swear. And yeah, I could tell that one devastated him. I hope he doesn't lock himself in a dark room for a month. I hope this guy gets back out there. Let his chin recover a little bit, same as Jamal. You guys both just got slept by this fucking Brazilian magic man. You know, let yourself recover and then take that fight. I think that's the best fight, #1 contender fight, potentially. Moving on, though, the co-main event. So this is something I'm not seeing too many people talk about. Shout out Bad MMA Math. He was on top of this on stream the other night. He thinks that Brian Ortega knew he wasn't going to fight pretty much all week. He knew he wasn't going to be able to make the weight or whatnot. And they kind of just brought Brian Ortega along as name value. So people would, you know, people that bought tickets and people that paid for hotel rooms or whatnot just to specifically see Brian fight, they were going to stay, obviously, because we didn't get told that he wasn't fighting until the day of. And it boosts the card sales. It boosts the hype of the card. It really, really shot me down seeing super early in chat when somebody told us that Diego Lopez was going to be fighting Dan Ige at 165. Part of me is like, yeah, you know what? Shout out Dan Ige. But then I saw Dan Ige on Instagram, and this is what makes me feel even more like this is fake. Dan Ige went on Instagram, and all he can do is brag about how he stepped in. And he didn't even look like he was trying to really fight Diego until the third round. So maybe I'm maybe this is a hot take. Maybe everyone's on Dan Igue's side. I don't give a fuck, Dan. I don't think you did shit there. I'm not praising you because you stepped in on 5 hours notice. I don't think it was 5 hours notice. And on top of that, like, he just did not look like he was in 5 hour notice shape when he came into the cage at all. Even mentally, he looked like he was prepping for that moment, as if he knew there was a chance he was going to be stepping in to take on Diego. He just didn't look that good. It didn't seem like he had any urgency in the first 2 rounds, which is what you would think for a fighter that's coming in on short notice. Thank you for saving the fight on the card so we still had something, but it was honestly pretty boring. And on top of that, it ruined Diego Lopez's stock a bit. Diego stayed through 3 different weight changes and 2 different opponents, and he still won. So obviously, like, he gets respect. But let's not act like he looked good in that fight. He was kind of just throwing like rapid hooks over the guard on Dan, not even going for leg kicks, horrible takedown entries. The only time he looked clean is when Dan shot a takedown and he would use his jiu-jitsu to reverse. That's when you quickly are reminded that Diego Lopez is a freak on the ground. But other than that, wholly disappointing performance, wholly disappointing co-main event. And honestly, I think Dana knew exactly what the fuck he was doing there. I'm not even gonna lie. I'm standing on that. I think Dan Ige knew he was fighting before that day. Moving down the card, Roman Dolidze versus Anthony Smith. We don't even need to talk too much about it. I'm gonna be honest with you guys, aside from Pereira and Peyton Talbot and Macy Chasson of all people. Macy Chasson of all people, dude. Aside from those, this card was actually so bad. And it sucks too, because it seemed like it was building up, and then Ian Gary and Michael Venom Page killed all of the momentum. Roman Dolidze, trash. Anthony Smith thinks he's a good fighter. He's not a good fighter. I don't know why I picked him. I thought maybe because he got that submission and turned back the clock on another guy that he could beat the slow, not nearly as technical, not nearly as experienced Roman Dolidze. But no, they just kind of like fucked each other on the ground. Like, Roman just held him, and yeah, they cuddled in like a wrestling position. You know, like, for those of you that have wrestled, you know, referee's position, that's what Anthony Smith was in the whole time against the cage, and Roman was just behind him holding him. Wackest shit I've ever seen. Moving on up the card, or down the card, I'm sorry. Macy Chasson versus Mayra Bueno Silva. Unironically, the best fight on the main card besides Alex Pereira's knockout. Unironically, I enjoyed this fight more than every other fight on the main card. Macy Chasson and Mayra Bueno Silva were going at it for like a full round. In the beginning of the second round, Macy Chasson gets a nice takedown, lands a beautiful bow over the top of Mayra Bueno Silva, cuts her open, and the cut was just so bad, she was leaking all over the place, that they had to stop it. I thought it was a good stoppage. Macy Chasson did lose the first round, but I did feel like all she had to do was survive the first round, and she was going to drown Mayra Bueno out in the next 2. And it looked like that's how that was going to go, cut or not. So shout out Macy Chasson. She gets the job done, gets a win for me on this main card, because the prelims, it's like I was a fucking sniper out there. I'm just hitting props left and right. But the main card, oh my gosh, dude. Horrible. And then we had the opener to this horrible main card. Ian Gary versus Michael Venom Page. Michael Venom Page did more damage. I don't care what anyone says. Michael Venom Page had the more notable moments. Ian Gary had a rear naked that was close. That was his good moment. He takes round 1. Michael Venom Page did all of the damage, landed all of the shots in the second round. That's Michael's round. In the third round, Michael was kind of doing the same thing. He ends up in mount on Ian Gary, because Ian Gary goes for like a bad takedown. And Michael Venom Page just ends up in mount and decides to stand up for our entertainment. And because of that, Ian Gary goes back to the wrestling game plan, kind of just holds on to Michael for the rest of the round in like a weird position where Michael could like shuck him up off his back, and Ian's just trying desperately to hold on to a body triangle. And that's it. The judges give it to Ian for, I don't know what, honestly, control time, I guess. Almost having a rear naked, or like kind of seeming like he had a rear naked. And you know what's worse about this is not only does it kill more of Ian Gary's hype, like, he's 15-0 and he's the least hyped 15-0 on the roster. He's the least hyped undefeated fighter on the planet, honestly. And Michael Venom Page, this was kind of his now or never run. And look at what happens. You just ruined one of the only exciting personalities at welterweight point blank period. So shout out Ian Gary for fucking just continuously pissing off MMA fans. You're getting really good at it, bro. Moving down the card, Joe Pyfer versus Marc-Andre Barriault. Marc-Andre Barriault gets melted in like a minute and 25 seconds of the first round. I picked Joe Pyfer by knockout. He won me a lot of money when that happened. So shout the fuck out Joe Pyfer. He came out there, landed a shot like that, just like grazed over the temple of Marc-Andre and like put him out bad on the ground, face first. So good shit, Joe Pyfer. I knew he was going to come out here and try to get right back in the win column explosively, and he did exactly that. Down the card, probably what was the true fight of the night, Andre Fili versus Cub Swanson. I think that was what was given fight of the night, right? And a lot of people were saying that Diego Lopez was robbed fight of the night. How was that fight of the night, brother? The only drama was at the end of the third round, and it wasn't even that much drama. But Andre Fili, Cub Swanson, looking back, I really did think Cub Swanson probably won the fight. He just did more damage. He had Andre a lot more scared and like turning into a wrestler. Andre Fili had more ground control, and he did win the first round on more activity, so he ends up taking the split decision. I'm not mad at it because I did bet Andre Fili to a decision specifically, so it put some bread in my pockets, but at the same time, ruined a little bit more of the integrity of the sport because Cub Swanson did do enough to get that done, I feel like. Then down the card, Gene Silva versus Charles Jourdain. We got to find out that Gene Silva is the real fucking deal. I picked Jourdain simply because I felt like there was too many X factors with Gene. After the first round, I was thinking like, man, Charles actually had a good first round. He actually might be able to drown out Gene. He might have taken all the power out of him with the clinching and the grappling. Nope, Gene looked so confident. He'd get hit and smile like, yeah, you know, good shit. Like, try to hit me hard so I can hit you harder. And he did just that. He lands an uppercut in the clinch similar to the one that Diego Lopez landed on Sadiq Yusuf. It looked so clean. It even reminded me of Rob's a little bit. Like, it wasn't as far at range, and he did have the back of his head to like really keep it in there. But it was just a beautiful shot. I think this is the only time I've ever seen Charles Jourdain get knocked out, to my knowledge. And now he's down to 15-8 in his career. So it's probably looking like the end for Charles Jourdain in the UFC, which is unfortunate because he has been around for a while, filling up a lot of these fight night cards especially. And then we have Peyton Talbot versus Giannis Gamori. I put Peyton to win in under a round and a half, and then I also put another bet on him to win in under half a round, just in case the half round didn't hit. Oh, but did it hit, buddy? 20 seconds in, 19 seconds in, and honestly, it should have been stopped like 13, 14 seconds because Giannis was just on the ground taking, you know, the follow-up shots. Peyton Talbot knocked him out clean. He flicks a couple of jabs out there. I think he threw a leg kick or something, and then he flicks a jab out, steps in with the jab, and follows through with the straight punch, and just blasts Giannis with that straight. Knocks him out cold. Perfect performance for Peyton. Here's the thing about this kid, and I'll have a video about him this week too coming out. Peyton Talbot, he's like a nonchalant, like, goth dude. We don't see that in MMA, and he's undefeated, and he knocks people the fuck out. This is the type of shit that builds a star. Back when Sean O'Malley was first coming up, he's this skinny, curly-haired kid that has knockout power, and he's kind of like, he did have that nonchalant energy, but I don't think it comes off as much as Peyton. Like, I think Peyton just genuinely doesn't give a fuck about things, and it really adds to his mystique. So I'm looking forward to him moving on in his career. I know he used to talk about maybe he would retire because he doesn't really know if he wants to fight, but then he calls out Adrian Yanez in the broadcast. Give this man Adrian or Cody Garbrandt or just somebody fun at bantamweight the potential to build him up for like a shot at O'Malley. Like, I would love to see that fight personally. I don't care how early it is. You can sometimes just know when somebody will belong in certain types of fights or like certain big matchups, and I really do see it with Peyton Talbot. So yeah, sky's the limit for this kid, 9-0. Not too many more important things to talk about on the card. Julian Robertson retired Michelle Waterson-Gomez, who had like a 1-7 UFC run, and she still gets a retirement video, but not fucking, gosh, someone else retired not even that long ago, and they didn't get a video, and they were actually a great fighter. Craziness. Martin Buday, Andrei Arlovsky, super boring, horrible fight, but it won me money, so I'm not mad. Ray Suzuya versus Carlos Hernandez. Ray Suzuya had just better control. It was kind of just like a wrestling match. And then Vinicius Oliveira beats Ricky Simone in a super lackluster fight. Ricky just allowed himself to get washed. Doesn't really make sense. I'll never understand it. But that was UFC 303, guys. It wasn't anything spectacular. I would say it was like a 5 out of 10. And the only reason it jumped to a 5 is because of Alex Pereira. And honestly, the stare down raised it like a 1.5. So yeah, that'll be all for my breakdown of this card. Like I said, I'm going to be posting probably a video every day this week, just talking about random things in the MMA world. Certain fighters, certain storylines that we need to, I don't know, I feel like we need to talk about a little bit. And not to mention, we don't have a card this weekend, so yeah, I guess for the time being, just going to have to fill this channel up with, I don't know, things about some other fighters. And yeah, that's going to be all for me today, guys. I'm sorry, I'm looking at this card on Tapology, and it's making my brain raw. It's making me lose brain cells. I need to just go to the gym or something. But yeah, that's gonna be all for me today, guys. I'll catch y'all.